Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the TVI podcast. Carl Donnelly here.
Julian Deane.
And it is episode. I was just about to check what episode it was. Let's have a look.
I reckon it's 238.
I reckon it's 238, you know. It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the
Father's Day.
All the people that have fathers. And people that
fathers.
have fathers who lost their
all
fathers.
the fathers that
us two included.
That have flown to another country.
All the absent
fathers
fathers
that have got 4 families, secret families.
All the bigamists out there.
All the legends.
Big up yourselves.
On the front line.
Those brave souls.
There's brave souls that are juggling 4 families in
that must
secret.
Be like, that used to happen in the old days. You can't do it nowadays, innit, man? The internet
Bigamy's
is totally...
technically married twice, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. But I mean, I suppose there is sort of bigamy. Like
my dad had another family we didn't know about.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
I tracked down my brother's 3 years younger.
Where were they?
They were based, I think they were based like Devon or something. And we were in London.
In the old days, it was common in the old days, you know.
My dad was, it weren't the old days, it's me, I'm not that old.
I mean, but it's the old days in terms of it's pre-digital age.
10 years ago.
I'm talking I'm saying that bigamy in that sense, and I'm using bigamy in the loose terms of just having a second family that is secret.
Yeah.
That, it cannot happen now. The internet and social media, everything is destroyed all that, right? So, I said that like it's a bad thing. you can't do it no more, man.
There's a story of my dad, actually. This is quite funny. And I don't know, I've got no truth. I've just heard it from 2 of his friends, different friends.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know if this is true. But apparently he fathered Des O'Connor's child. My dad is the real dad.
Surely we got to bleep that, man, and we'll put it on Patreon, because surely what if that person hears this?
I did think that before I said it, but I'm just saying what I heard. I don't. What they gonna...
Some
I wasn't there.
Massive revelation I've heard that could cause ruptures in other families. No, I reckon.
I actually emailed. I emailed a lady in Australia once. She was a journalist for the. I don't know, one of the big, the Sydney Morning Herald. That's a big paper, isn't it?
I think it is.
And she was my sister. Like, my dad had fathered her, but she didn't know.
Oh, fuck.
And I emailed her and just she didn't have no idea. Like, I just I need to, just wind my neck in a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just fascinated with finding them, though.
Right.
All over the world.
Yeah, but it's got to be, you've got to be so diplomatic in those scenarios.
Yeah.
Because I've got a few, family
kids
revelation, from my parents' side, we've got I've got a few illegitimate.
Your mum's
siblings.
Also your sister,
but I will talk about this.
Your
actually,
mum's
your
now. Side ting.
Let's do a Patreon, just secret Patreon episode where we share because I've got a few ones that I know about that I found out about sort of about a decade ago, man, and it absolutely rocked me. And the reason is I got messaged by someone with fucking loose lips like you, mate.
Loose lips sink ships.
But we'll do let's do a little Patreon special this week where we talk about it. Because I'd love to talk about this stuff that happened to me. I've told a few people I've told just over a beer and stuff, but I've never sort of said it on stage. I've never said it on the pod.
I've probably got some kind of a couple of funny affair stories where the worlds collided. My dad's 2 separate. When me and Jane were little, and we're just all naive.
Oh man!
And Jane's doing ballet in front of my dad's side ting, showing her new dances, and it's just such a crazy situation.
I know, they were different times. But happy Father's Day, everybody. On that note.
An abundance of skirt in the old days.
Just before
now
we
you
hit,
just got to have one.
Exactly, man. You're only allowed one now with the internet age. Got to keep your shit together. But
put a disguise on. Not really.
But anyway, what I was just telling you just before I hit record that I managed to do 3. I did my, like, you know, people. This is probably, I don't know if people, this is interesting for people that like stand up, but you know, often people are shocked. Like when I meet somebody and we're talking and they know I'm a
Doing
stand up.
another gig tonight.
Well, that's it. If
Like
you tell them
that.
you're doing more than one gig in a night, they can't believe it, man. But actually,
I've
if you're
had people
gigging in,
not believe that I'm driving home, like
right,
after Birmingham or something. I'm like, man, I've drove home from Liverpool, like
yeah.
Newcastle.
Yes. But that's it. They
You're
can't
going home
understand
now, and they can't get their head around
that's
it.
just a normal commute for a gig, really, isn't it? You gig around the
Yeah.
country. Whereas for them, a commute is a 10-minute drive or a 20-minute tube or something. But I did. Normally, if you're in London, you can do multiple gigs. I did 3 gigs last night, but I set my record for the 3 in the shortest window of time. I managed to do. So I did the 2 top secret venues. So there's a new venue. It's amazing. It's on Aldwych, and it's sort of you know, it's probably a 10-minute leisurely walk to the old venue, and I managed to do 3 different sets at the new one, 2 at the old one in the different rooms there. 20 minutes each set. So that's an hour of comedy I did, and
So
I
it was
did it.
3 different sets, was it?
I didn't know. I did some different stuff in maybe a couple of them. Yeah, not a total different 20, but like, you know, I was mixing bits in and out. But I did 3 full 20 minutes club sets in different clubs in the space of an hour, and I think it was an hour and 13 minutes start to finish, from going on stage and saying hello at the first one to saying goodbye at the last. I'd done 3 different 20s, and I'd only actually, in that window of time, it was an hour and 13 minutes. Included a 4-minute run between the venues. Like, it was fucking chaos, man. But like, I was so tired after it. Like, I felt like I'd done a day's work for the first time in
Yeah.
17 years, just because
It
it was
is
so
exhausting.
stressful. But it was fun. I mean, it was amazing to be able to just do that in that period of time. But fuck me, man, my head was absolutely fried.
I did. I had a gig. There was an admin error yesterday, so I didn't have a gig
Right.
in the evening. That I only just found out, and so I got a couple of afternoon gigs at Top Secret. I ended up doing 4 gigs at Top Secret.
Oh, nice.
So 2 at like the 3:30 show, and then. So at the moment they're doing like 10-minute sets at those shows.
At the early
so I
shows,
turn up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I turn up at the 6 o'clock, which I love at 10 minutes. But
I know you do. That's your dream fucking length of time.
I was asking. I was suggesting they do 5 minutes. But no, I mean, yeah. But so I'm on stage on the 6 o'clock show. On stage doing 10 minutes. I get to the end of my set, put the mic back in. The red light is on. I've got to get off.
Yeah.
And the guy shouts out, "Oh, Mark said, could you do 20?"
Yeah.
While I'm on stage, just about to end. And I've already hit like 10 minutes. And I just, I mean, it's not that actually a big a deal, but at the time it felt like, oh shit. But the crowd were kind of really on board with it. I made jokes about the situation and like,
yeah.
this is like the worst fear when you want to do this job. And they were really nice. Yeah.
See, I had the opposite on Friday night. I was on stage and like,
you get off.
Well, no, it was basically there was like there was a chance that there was going to be a big surprise act show up at the end.
Oh yeah,
and because basically it was an American comic. I don't want to say because he didn't come in the end, but like basically, and his support act had been on the night before maybe. And his support act's quite well known as well, but like he basically there was like just before I went on stage, it was like I might need you to just do a little bit shorter, like just because he might be showing up. We're just waiting to find out if he's going to get here or not. So I just said, look, just give me the light when you want me to get. I said I'll just aim as if I'm going to do a 20, but give me a light if he shows up and you want me to come off early, and I'll just wrap it up. You know what I mean? So I went on and I was like, I'd only been on for about 9 minutes. And then the light came on. I was like, oh, fuck, he's here. So I was like, all right, cool, man. That's easy for me. I just get to like land it early. So I started wrapping up. And suddenly I just heard some commotion. And it basically turns out the sound guy thought I was just doing 10. And basically he suddenly then run in and told him, no, he's doing 20. There was no one else there yet. So they had to turn the light off and shout, no, that was a mistake. The light, please keep going. So I'd already started wrapping up. I went, all right, guys, the lights come on. I think you might, and I think I might
At
have even
least
alluded.
you were kind of ready for a 20, I guess.
I'm always ready for a 20, mate. I'm fucking always ready.
That's
ready.
your middle name. But I had done my 10, and my 10 isn't that structured. Like I just hammer, you know what I mean? Whatever. I mean, it's kind of structured, but whatever comes up, I'm saying, because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just firing like, the gold, I guess you could say. But I mean, so I didn't. So then I've got to remember what I've already said. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was fun.
I mean, it's not hard to remember something you said 6 minutes ago. It's like,
you know what though? Sometimes I've done the same joke twice once in the same set.
Mate. In the same set. That's like you've got dementia or something.
And I did it once at Top Secret. When you're doing like 4 gigs in a row though, they'll blend in, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I did it once when I did a double down in Bristol. And as I'm setting the joke up, they start laughing.
Oh man.
And then I'm like, do the joke, and it's like, I don't know, and I just completely didn't even reference it.
No. Fucking
I just carried
on like a psychopath.
I just started doing push-ups.
The thing, I mean, what would have been funny then would if you'd done if you'd have then done it again a third time, like as a piss take. That would have almost.
There's definitely like loads of things, but I don't know. I was quite tense, I guess.
Yeah. The worst one I had of that, of like going on and just having to just keep going, was when I was hosting the Greenwich Comedy Garden a few years ago, and Milton Jones was closing, and it'd be a really fun night. And I've been doing loads. It's quite a lot. You have to do quite a bit when you're comparing that. It's 3 sections. It's a big room. It's like 1,200 seat gazebo. And
it's inside or outside?
It's an inside tent. It's a covered tent, basically.
Oh, okay.
So they're seated and everything. And so I'd been out at the start and done like 10, 15 minutes before the start. And then I'd gone out of the second section, another 10, whatever. And then Milton basically was stuck in traffic. And like, they were just waiting. He could the whole interval was getting a bit long, man. And when you've got 1,200 people just waiting for the show to start, you can't just keep pushing it, man. It's going to fuck the whole vibe. So they basically just went like, Milton, like, where are you now? Just let us know when you're like 5 minutes away, and Carl can just go on and start. And Milton called, and he was just the other side of Greenwich. Like, he was coming basically from like Deptford, and we were like, mate, that's 5-minute drive. So I'll just go on. And I went on stage, and I just said, look, I'll tell the audience Milton is currently literally driving. It's 5 minutes. So I'll make a funny thing out of it. And then I'll just come to the side of the stage and just check after 5 minutes, and then we'll just, it'll be funny. They'll get into it. And it did. It worked. So I was telling them, right, guys, we've got an exciting game. Milton Jones is currently en route. And basically 10 minutes passed, and there was just no word from the side of the stage. And 15 minutes passes, there's no word. And I went over and I sort of, then the audience are like it was getting quite exciting, but like in my head I was like, man, this is getting fucking long. And I went over to the side of the stage, and they said Milton had basically not moved since he told us he was like the other side, near Deptford, whatever. So he'd actually parked, and he was jogging. So he ended up basically, he got there. I was on stage for 30 minutes filling time before he got there. Oh. I mean, it would have been your worst nightmare.
I think that is my worst nightmare, like having to, do that. I remember Tien and Dobe had to do that at the Showcase Cinema in Coventry, do half an hour for Mark Mayer. Yeah. Mark Mayer was on the route, and I was just watching, oh my God, I'd hate that gig. Was. I always had good times at that gig, but it just looked like a nightmare, didn't it?
It was always way nicer than it looked. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause you walked in, it was a fucking comfy cinema. People were drinking 2-pint drinks. You remember that? They had big 2-pint glasses.
Yeah,
so people were sitting there looking like little kids drinking pints. Like, they were just fucking, perspective was all off. And it just felt like you should be watching a bloody screening of Transformers. and then suddenly you're out doing stand-up. It always was way more fun than it should have been
Yeah, I
on
always
paper.
had good times there. I never had a bad one, weirdly.
Nah.
But I always thought it was going to be. I remember once being up, I forget who I was with, one of the other acts. We were messing around up. Because you know where the green room was? You could go like where the projectors are
Yeah.
onto the screens of each cinema room.
Yeah.
And we were like messing around with them. It was stupid, really. A finger would come across the Gwyneth Paltrow's face.
Let's see if there's any Father's Day related questions coming in from the group. This is not Father's Day related, but you can know this one is. Let's do this one. Most surprise is from Mads. Most surprising thing about being a parent and no one told you before you had kids. Most surprising thing. I think the most surprising thing for me is that and this is going to probably annoy some parents, but for me, I've just not found it anywhere near as difficult as I thought I would. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know some parents who make parenting look really hard, and I know there's extreme circumstances where people's lifestyle is different. Their kids might have some issue, there's all different things that can throw. But I'm talking about just people I know that have just pretty standard lives, not jobs. Kids are all sort of don't have any developmental problems, but they just make life look stressful, man. Like they find parenting very, very difficult, and it's really taking its toll on them. And I was always geared up for that. I thought I'm going to just be fucked all the time.
That's why it was easier, I guess, because you felt mentally prepared for
maybe. But
a grueling.
Surely, yeah. And also, I from day one of comedy, when you start out, especially when we were a bit younger, when we were coming into it, there was all them old guard of comedian who were most of their set was moaning about their wives and kids. So I think they always made life sound so shit that actually...
And they'd love a weekend away because, oh, God, without the kids, it's lovely.
Oh, God, mate. You know
I'd just be sitting in a hotel missing my kids.
Is that 100%, man? That's exactly what I'm like. So that's the thing that's most surprised me is and this is a personal thing. I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I've definitely found it. I mean, I'm talking 1,000 times easier than I thought it would be based on other people describing it. You know?
Yeah, I guess I was... I guess might be similar, really. I don't know, not to sound corny, but I find it so fulfilling as well. Like it kind of just heals me inside somehow. You know what I mean? Like just being with my kids. Yeah, there's something about it that is very profoundly filling. You know what I mean? That sounds a bit obvious, I guess, but. That kind, I don't know what surprised me the most. I had kids so quickly, so young. It was suddenly the first baby I ever held was my own. You know what I mean? I'd never even held a baby.
That's funny, man.
So it was suddenly, and I was kind of learning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was basically I hadn't grown up properly myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically a teenager.
Yeah. So I think people I don't know. My advice for anyone who's becoming a parent is always just to, don't stress about it too much. You know what I mean? Just
enjoy it.
I think most of the people I know that find it hard, and they still enjoy it, and they still, like a lot of it. But the people I know that really have struggled with it the most are the people that just couldn't let go of their pre-family life. You know what I mean? And people that still they feel too like, well, I can't just do what I want anymore. Now I've got a kid, and it's like, yeah, but you've got to just let that go. That's if you hold on to that is the thing that's going to make everything hard, obviously. But if you actually just go with your new life, this is it now, isn't it? Just let go of the old one, and you absolutely you can just ease into it and enjoy it.
Just embrace it fully. Yeah,
it's not, and it's.
I mean, I'm just thinking, wonder what my baby mamas would if they heard me say that. They think, well, you ain't even living there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. I have got it easy. You know what I mean?
But that's a relatively recent development in terms of your.
I did live with them their whole life until years and years. I was with her 19 years, but I I do have it easy. I do acknowledge that.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I loved it when I was there. I loved being with them though all the
Yeah,
time. Do you know what I mean?
and you
It
were
was
around
just
when
when the
you were there
relationship
when they
can
were
be an
little. I
issue.
think it's when they're little is when people moan the most about how difficult it is.
Yeah, like I
I
was there
think, and
doing
then it
school
gets,
runs, nappy
and then
changing.
teenage
You know
years
what
is
I mean?
obviously there's a whole new wave of problems that throw up issues, and that's when it probably gets a bit hard again. When there's, I've got friends and family who've got sort of people in their mid teens now going through some real shit, man, and like that feels hard. That's the bit I'm like, probably the bit I'm more nervous about than the first 5 years when they're just little and they're babies. You've just got to totally look after them and do everything for them. That bit never worried me really, but it's when they turn 15 and there's shit going on at their school and they don't know who they are and they're freaking out. And like, that's the things I'm like, all right, I'm bracing myself for that, man.
Yeah. It'd probably be smoother than you think, but it's good
Well,
to
again,
kind of
hopefully.
be mentally prepared, isn't it?
And also, like, I went out with my mate who I grew up with. He lives out of London now, but he was in town early in the week, and we just met up for a beer and had a big old catch up. And we were talking about this about sort of, he's got teenage girls, and like he was saying, like how one of them just is going through some real stuff, man. It's really hard. But he was saying how weirdly, like out of him and his partner, like he's much more zen about it, and it's like, look, he was thinking back to when we were teenagers and everyone we knew, and like there was loads of people that were going through some fucking rough
Mm.
stuff. Everyone actually turned out all right. It was just a period of time, a phase, but you can't really say that to a 15-year-old girl who's going through it, man. You can't say like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be all right." You know what I mean?
Just
You got to
shut up.
you got to go help them through it. But in your head, be aware that in 15 years, they're not even going to think about that, man. Well,
This
they
too
might. They
shall
might do a bit of
pass.
therapy and sort of, but it's ultimately it's going to be a little blip.
Teenagers are like programmed to rebel, though,
Yeah,
to pull away from their parents and to kind of be different and fight because they're finding out who they are. You know what I mean? It's a healthy part of their development is to kind of rebel. I mean,
yes,
I went
exactly.
overboard a bit with it, but
What ended up in
um,
young offenders institutes is going overboard. Okay, what? That's like the what?
children's homes.
Um, but right, let's see what we got. What's this from Bill? Have you taken a story or joke from another comedian with their permission, which didn't work for them but worked for you? Not
Nah.
really. I mean, me and Chris Martin used to like when we'd be like throwing ideas around. We'd sit around every week just with like notebooks and throw some jokes around.
Yeah,
They'd be
I've
odd.
taken like notes and like maybe like ideas and stuff like that. I mean, Dudderidge has helped me with jokes before, like on the phone and like, but not really. Just to make it more clear, I guess sometimes. But yeah, never that particularly.
Nah,
No,
I think
never
yeah,
said,
things.
could I try that? You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah. No, I don't think I don't think for me it wouldn't work for something that's come from someone else. Just like everything I do is sort of happened to me. Right, let's do. If this is Lindsay says, if you and Julian had to go head to head in the parents' 400 meters race at Sports Day, who would win? 400 meters,
Four
man.
hundred.
You got asthma, man. So I actually reckon I'd back myself there because I sort of still go for the odd run and jog and stuff. Like I reckon over 100, you might
I have won the
wallop me.
parents' race though. Like last
400
year, I won
meters,
it. Nah, 100 meters.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
100 meters is quite far, man.
100,
Like
I
it was
reckon you'd beat me, but I reckon over 400, I'd beat you because I can run a bit, so like, I'd be able to just
I'm
settle into
worried
a
about
pace.
sports day next week actually because I've been rough on that, and I've not. I don't
You're
want to
worried.
go.
Why? Just don't. You don't have to do anything. Surely you don't have
I
to
know,
run
but
in
I
it.
know I'm too fucking competitive, like not to do it, and
Well,
I
just
don't
do
want to
it.
come like seventh. You know what I
It just
mean?
doesn't matter. It's a fun day for kids. It ain't about you.
But it is. That's all that's in my head when I'm at sports day.
It's fucking mental,
I'm
mate.
fucking in the bushes stretching and shit, man.
Oh my god. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm
Um,
sure I'll be competitive when it comes around, but I definitely won't have any advanced anxiety about it. It won't cross my mind until the day I'm there.
it is popping into my head a bit. Like I feel so weak and like to sprint would kill me at the moment. I've been like rough and
Oh
stuff.
my god.
Yeah.
Fuck, that is mental, mate. That even like, well, just go for a
I
run.
won it last year though. Like,
Just go for a few jogs and just go out for a jog after this.
I reckon I'm the oldest dad, one of them anyway.
Yeah, I reckon.
And
that
I won
too.
it.
I reckon it's about right. Oh shit. But what? Just go for a jog now after the pod. What are you doing
I
straight
might
after?
do. I haven't been to the gym for 2 weeks. I've just been like, I don't know if I've had some virus or something, but I just feel weak, man. Like I just want to lay down. Just still recovering.
Yeah, man. Well, just you don't have to partake. Tell them if you're not feeling up to it, you don't have to race all the other dads. Just oh man. What other do you have to? What is there any other events like sports day that parents take part in, or is it just that one race?
Just that one race, yeah.
That's a lot of pressure actually on that. Why don't they have other events? Do you know what I mean?
It's just like a little fun thing after sports day, isn't it? Just parents can race if they want.
Yeah. And is it mixed sexed or is it like?
No, they separated it, men and women. Yeah.
Okay.
I might identify as female and do the women's one. And just call them all bigots, if not.
Why they should do other events, I think. Do you know what I mean?
It's just a little fun thing. It's about the kids, in it. Like it's not.
No, it is. But I mean, if they're gonna do parent stuff, you should chuck a few others like javelin.
Three-legged race with some.
Did you ever do javelin? I did javelin at school, man. That was fucking good. That was fun.
We did at Thomas Tallis in my secondary school. We did javelin and all stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I threw a javelin before. Yeah.
I've thrown a few javelins in my time. Yeah, I was way better at javelin than shot put. But
long jump, high jump, all that stuff.
I was shit at those, man. But
yeah, I don't really remember.
I was always quite good at. I don't know. Yeah, I had quite a good throwing arm. I am. But let's do another question. What kind of parent did you think you'd be, and what kind of parent did you turn out to be? I suppose. Yeah, you were young, Howard. What did you think it was going? What did you think you'd be like as a dad then? And
I honestly had no idea. I was a bit like a rabbit in a headlight. I just had no idea, really. I was learning from the baby mum, and their family. They were really maternal and like.
Oh, yeah.
I was just kind of learning, really. Doing the feeding, doing the nappies, preparing the bottles, all stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, really. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'd no idea what kind of parent. I'd never even thought about it.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah, it's different. It'd be so different because I was the opposite. Obviously, I was I was fucking, what was I, 38 when Twyla was born? Like, so I'd prepped for it, man. Like, the moment we knew we were having a baby, I was in training camp. I read every fucking book I could, and I was really. I thought about it almost non-stop for 9 months. So I think but I think because I had so much prep time and I was older, I reckon I've called it a bit better than most people who have kids earlier. Like, I'd aimed for a type of parent I was, and I don't think I've missed that by too far at all. Like, yeah, you have the odd day when you're a bit more frustrated when you've got
give
a
them
3, 4-year-old
temper and stuff.
But when kids, man, at that age, they have days when they physically are not going to do anything that you're planning to do. They just don't want to. They're just having one of them days. It's like and we forget that sometimes. Like, an adult can have an off day, and you're like, oh, he's having a bit of an off day, mate. I think he's a bit tired. But a kid has an off day, and you're like, fucking hell, man, they're not doing. It's so hard. Like,
it can be like lack of sleep plays a big part, doesn't it?
Loads. They're kids, man. Their brains are not fully formed. They're going through shit. Little things can feel to them like we would have if someone died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can still find it frustrating, but I'm always hyper aware of the fact she's little, so I never ever lose my temper or anything. So, that was one thing I always put in place. I was like, I'm not gonna lose my temper. I'm not gonna be. I'm on my basis, and it's rude, man. But my dad was I just used my dad as a template of how not to do it. Essentially, in the early days.
Yeah.
My dad was cool when I got older, man. Like, what I mean, we got on really well, but he just weren't engaged at all when I was a little kid because he was just an old school bloke who just had no idea how to relate to kids. So, You know what I mean? I don't think I even knew him until I was about 10, even though we lived in the same house. So like, I think I just
I
was
think
like, I'm
that's
going
what
to be
I
the
did.
opposite of that. I'm going to be so hands on, so that actually she feels like she knows me fully.
Yeah, because I like with my older boys from my first relationship when I was young. I guess I tried as they got kind of like 7, 8 or whatever. Like I was trying to be because my dad. I don't know. I wanted to be the opposite to my dad as well, but I I don't know. I kind of like went the other way with it, where I was trying to be their best mate,
Right? Yeah, yeah,
cool,
yeah, yeah,
like the
yeah.
cool kind of young. I don't know, just trying to be their best mate, and
Yes.
I don't know. I think I've made some mistakes with that a little bit. Like, although not necessarily just being their mate, but that was my drinking years as well,
Yeah, of
and I was
course.
drunk quite sometimes with them, and there was a
Yeah.
few things that I did like that, yeah, were very irresponsible. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah, yeah,
once. Yeah, I don't want. Like, I remember
yeah.
once trying to. I was with Robbie and Connor, and I tried getting them into a nightclub when I was
How old were
out
they?
of my nut.
How old were they?
Kids.
Fucking hell,
And the
man.
bouncer lent. I mean, this is why I stopped drinking. And like, I shared this at a meeting the other day, and like, and the bouncer leant over and went, "Mate, take your kids home." But I thought
Oh.
at the time, though, it was just fun. They were having fun. They were like, "Yeah," you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
but it
yeah.
was just like in hindsight, like, what the fuck? You know
Exactly.
what
That
I
is
mean?
such drunk. That's such a drunk like thing to even consider. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've got to say
Um,
that's. I mean, that is the difference between an addict though and a non-addict. Like in that, I still can go out and get absolutely munted, right? But because I've always had like a rule, I never drink at home. You know, I very, very rarely drink around Twilight. Like if I like, sort of, we went for a picnic last Saturday and I drank some beers while I was sat in the park. But like, you know, I always keep a lid on it, man. It's almost like I treat them so separately. Like my drinking is if I'm out meeting mates once every month or something. You know what I mean? I can just put it
yeah,
away. But you know, I think it is that thing of the people I know that don't have that. They just don't have that line between them two sides. They're the ones that
yeah,
shit
yeah,
is
yeah.
when you're an addict, man. It just
When I was
blurs.
drunk, it was like I don't know. It's hard to explain. Really, in the morning when I was my sober self, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
The remorse that I had, like, I mean, you know, no one ever got injured. I was always felt like I was in control and like looking after them. You know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you know, something could have gone wrong. You know what
Definitely.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Thankfully,
yeah.
it didn't.
Yeah. And yeah, man. It's but that is the nature of addiction, man. Let's see. Cameron has dived in here. Says, as a 35-year-old man with no children, do you think it's acceptable to completely not give a shit about Father's Day? I think it's absolutely acceptable, mate. Why?
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I suppose it depends what sort of family you come from, innit? Like some people make a big deal out of it. Like, you know, my dad never gave a shit about Father's Day, but even though I always got my dad a Father's Day card, but also it was a double thing. 'Cause my dad's birthday's on the 18th, or was on the 18th of June. So often, like, you know, his Father's Day would fall on his birthday or
okay,
in and
yeah.
around. So I'd always get him like a double card: Happy Father's Day, Happy Birthday.
My dad
And
didn't care about it. Like
but he didn't give a shit, man. Like
I
that
remember
was their
once buying my dad
generation.
a hat on New Row. That's where he lived in Covent Garden. There's
Yeah.
a hat shop, and I bought him like he always used to wear these hats, so I
New
got him
Row.
one.
Where's New
Yeah,
Rose? Is that the one that goes down to St Martin's Lane?
yeah, that one, that road.
Fucking, I didn't know he lived there. Yeah.
He
I know
lived
the hat
as you
shop you're
go
talking about.
as you as you walk up New Row. So there's loads of like cafes and stuff, isn't there?
There's just as a quick aside for anyone. Basically, if you're in Covent Garden and you go to New Row, if you're a vegan, there's a Italian coffee shop at the very bottom of New Row, the St Martin's Lane end, that does the best vegan ice cream. I think in central London, they've got a vegan pistachio ice cream that is the best fucking thing. Oh
Sounds
man, it's
good, man.
amazing. But yeah,
But
so he lives
so
on New Road. That's
so
amazing.
as you walk up New Row, like from St Martin's Lane towards Covent Garden,
Mm.
you come to like the end of the and you do a right. So it's kind of the first right past
Yeah,
coffee shop.
yeah.
He just lived
Near the
in that
police
block on.
station. Isn't
The
that around the corner from the
PlayStation's
police
kind
station? It's
of
right. I think it's the next
not.
block over the police station, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, it's a little bit away from that
Oh yeah,
part, I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
isn't it? So it's behind the Colosseum,
Right, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
road. So he
Okay.
lived in that block there, yeah.
Bloody hell. And what happened when you bought it in the hat?
But I bought him the hat anyway, and I was like, I took ages choosing it. I got it, and I gave it to him for his birthday, and I don't know, I never saw it again. I think he'd give it to charity.
I did that. My mum was always like that, man. Like my mum liked if I got my mum something swanky, like a really nice
And
perfume or
Summers are saying.
something. That's a little dilled. But I no, if I've got a like nice expensive perfume, often I'd get her something like when I was coming back from duty
Handbag
free.
dildo.
But she'd be all like she'd love it, right? But if I tried to buy her anything that was just like, a nice little gift. I remember one year getting her an incense burner with some nice incense. And I went round a week later and I saw it sticking out of a bin. And, and, and that was it was a birthday present or maybe a Christmas present. And I was like, I went, oh, what's that doing in the bin? And she went, oh, geez, I couldn't stand the smell of that stuff like that. And she just threw it in a bin, man. Like, not even...
It's the different generation, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I still remember, that was like over 10 years ago. And I remember like thinking, fuck, like, not even to call me and say, look, I don't really like it. Do you want to take it? You'll use this more than me, or not to give it to charity shop, or not to give it to a friend, but
or the
just
fact that
in it.
you've bought her it, just value it for that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. My dad was the same. I remember I never bought my dad presents, like, because he just anytime I tried. In the end, what I used to do was just like, fucking, I can't remember what I'd get him. Like, I think I'd just get him aftershave every single birthday and Christmas. Aftershave because the only thing he'd use. Or I'd buy him a shirt.
Yeah.
So a nice shirt. So like, a few times I tried to buy. I once bought him a Dean Martin CD for his car, and he literally looked at it like I'd just given him a wrapped up fucking egg. You know what I mean? Just like it's just he couldn't believe what I'd given him. He's like, "What's this for?"
But when like Ren got me this for my birthday last week, she made it. Like, she takes so much time. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's
it's
nice.
Like it's a clay microphone.
That's really cool.
I can't really read what it says. It says "I love Dad," I think.
Yeah.
But it's like really.
That's lovely.
I mean, but she's made me things when she was like 3 years old that are falling apart out of felt, and they're on my shelf. Like, I'll keep everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got
my dad would just
this
bin
morning.
everything.
Yeah, man. Like, it's just simple. Yeah, like they won't because I got in late from my gigs. Like, they let me have a little bit of a lie-in this morning, and then they came in with like coffee and croissants, and Twyla had done drawings.
Nice.
I was just like, so yeah, I just love it, man. It's nice. But what were we saying? Oh, the person, who was it? Cameron, who was saying, yeah, you don't have to give a shit about Father's Day at all if you're not a dad, and if you don't have that relationship with your dad, or where it's a thing. I didn't give a shit about Father's Day. I used to, it was only because it was near my dad's birthday I would even get a card, really. But like, until I became a dad, and now it's sort of, I don't really care. I'm not thinking about, I wonder what they're going to do for Father's Day for me. But I know that Hannah's really good at that sort of stuff. So I know I'm going to get a little thing or treat, and anything I get, I will be very thankful for. Here we go. Sophie says, funniest naughty thing your kid did, and were you able to tell them off without laughing? I mean, that's probably more up in your wheelhouse because you've got older kids. Twyla's only just sort of discovering being naughty. Do you know what I mean? She's 4, and now she's discovering like how like nicking sweets. When I'll tell her, no, you can't have any of those, man. Like, we got dinner in an hour. And then I'll catch her trying to get one, and she finds it funny, man, because she knows I'm not going to shout at her. But I can be a little bit stern and get the message across. But I do normally. I laugh is my initial reaction to when she's being naughty, because I think it's funny, man. I find kids being like within the realms of it not hurting anyone. I think kids being naughty is funny. Do you know what I mean?
It cracks me up, yeah, man. I remember once walking in and Ren had she was only about 3, and she had her little butter knife, but she'd opened all of the advent calendar doors, and she had chocolate all over her face, and she kind of put it behind her back, but it was really
Yeah.
I've got it on video actually. If I find it, I'll put it on, and I'm like, what you been doing? And she's like, I was hungry. And she's got it all over her face, but a little knife in her hand.
Oh, man.
Every single door was open. It was funny.
It's high
chocolate all over her.
Because obviously when they're naughty at 3 and 4, the naughtiness is within quite funny parameters, isn't it, man? They're not fucking doing anything crazy. You know, or some kids, I think, do. Some kids are doing, like, you know, trying to climb out windows and shit. That must be stressful, but I think anytime Twyla's done anything, it is in that sort of, you know, I've seen her do stuff where she'll like spill something, and she's now at that age when she's got in that thing of, do I just hide this or do I say something? And like I've watched her do it, and I just watch, just trying to see what's she gonna do. And like she'll just do that thing of, for a second she's like, oh fuck, what do I do? And then she'll look over and be like, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's all right. But it's just I find it very, very fun. Here we go. What's the best lie your dad told you? Just bullshit to show off or to get you to shut up, that you accepted at the time because it was your dad, and you only found out much later in life it wasn't true. Well, I mean, I must have told the one on here about my dad telling me he was in the war. Do you know about that? I don't know if I must have. So, like, I used to do it as a routine on stage, I think. I did it, or I didn't do it in club sets. I did it in an Edinburgh show one year. My dad, when I was about, I'm going to say 7, my dad was in, like, he was just wearing his, like, boxer shorts. Or, like, he got up in the morning or something for a cup of tea. And we were sat on the sofa, and I saw a scar on the inside of his left thigh, like down near his knee. It was a big fucking scar, man. It was like the size of a tennis ball, man. And I went, oh, what's that? And he went, oh, that's when I got shot. So I was like, what? And I went, when did you get shot? And he goes, oh, when I was in the war. And I went, what? What happened? And he told me this elaborate story about how he was in the war. He didn't say what war. I was only 7, man. I didn't know what wars were. Do you know what I mean? Which one was which? And then he told me him and his troop just got caught in crossfire, and he took a bullet right through the leg, and then he literally had to pull himself under a bush out of the fire, and he said, like, he had to wait. Everything died down, and he said basically it all went quiet and everyone was gone. He just had to lie in the bush all night waiting for enemy troops to go, and then on his belly he had to pull himself back to his base, right? And he said he pulled himself for hours and hours and hours. He got there, they patched him up and sent him home. He told me that story once when I was about 7, man, maybe 6, and I just took it as total gospel. And then it had just gone in, but I'd never really think about it. And then when I was about 11 at school, we were studying the world wars, like, and we did the chronology of like the 21st century or 20th century, and I looked at the dates, and it was like the First World War was like, what, 1914 to 1919. Second World War was 39 to 45. And then I basically was like, hang on, my dad was born in 1939. And I just had this memory of like, what war was he in? And then I sort of looked at the others. I saw like, he weren't in Vietnam. That's the only one he could have technically been in age-wise. So I went home that day, and I was fucking all like confused and angry. I said to him like, Dad, what war were you in again? And he went, what? And I went, what war were you in? I went, what war were you in where you got your bullet wound? And he went, what bullet wound? And I said, your scar on your leg. You know, remember, like, you told me you got shot in the war. And he went, did I? I went, yeah. And he went, no, that was a cyst I had removed like 20 years ago. And I was like, what the fuck? I'd believed it for like 6 years or 5 years. It was just, it was such a, and the fact that he couldn't even remember lying, man, it's really, I really remember it really upset me that I just believed that shit for years, man. Oh, man.
My dad used to talk about exactly shit like that, like war and stuff. Apparently, though, my dad was in the Second World War for like the last 2 weeks, and because then it ended.
That's a funny time to show up, man. Just as they're winding things, just as everyone's celebrating. Hitler's shot himself. You're like, yeah,
his mum said he could never keep a job. was there for 2 weeks.
But
He was old. He was born in 27.
Oh right, yeah.
So he was old when I was born. Yeah.
Yeah. It's my uncle. My uncles were good liars as well. All my family were good liars, man. Just like it was a real fucking trait.
My dad was an absolute I think my dad was a pathological liar though.
Right.
Like he would say the traffic lights were red when they were green, like just for
Yeah.
He would just it almost like he just would just say things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just all bullshit. I remember once when I lived with him in Sydney when I was 16 for nearly a year. I was there. And we went to the Army Veterans Office. So he was in his 60s by that time.
I think you've told us when he was trying to get... Was he trying to get a pension? Was it this one?
Yeah, and he's sitting there and he's getting emotional to the woman who works there and describing and there's tears and he's talking about his mates he was lost and what happened, as if he had PTSD from the war.
Yeah.
And then as we left... I thought, wow, that was heavy. His face literally just changed to smiling with me. And we just went McDonald's.
I mean, that is fucking wild.
He had a pension from Australia. He got the pension from them.
Oh, my God.
England, he had 2 pensions going into his bank. Like, he was just such a con man.
Yeah.
But I just thought, fucking hell, this is next level. Like,
Yeah.
Crazy lying.
It's mad. Like my uncle and his brother, they were like from the west of Ireland, and they were proper good. They weren't by blood. They were like my aunt married my uncle, and they were just solid liars. Like my uncle Danny was a real he was an actual crook. You know what I mean? Proper, fraudster, prison, all sorts, right? But and his brother John was the same, man. They were just such lies. But I remember when I met John, my uncle. He was what? What's your uncle's brother? Who's not by blood? It's probably just nothing, isn't it? It's not even a relation. But
yeah, I don't know.
He just told me again.
I think it's called your uncle's brother.
Yeah, yeah. But it was like my dad's one. He told me just the most insignificant sort of made up story. There was no reason to tell this. It wasn't like. But he told me he was in the Guinness Book of Records when I was like 8 or 9. And I think maybe there was just
biggest
one line
dick.
Around. But he told me he was in it for being the first doctor. He wasn't even a doctor, and I just believed it because I was the first doctor to remove the human spine after death intact.
It's quite specific, isn't it?
And I was like, what? Whoa. And he goes, there's because he goes, well, obviously after you die, the spine sort of almost disintegrates, and he just told me all this bullshit. There was not a single bit of truth in it, because obviously it doesn't. We found skeletons, you know what I mean? There's skeletons in the ground. But he just told me this, and I just totally believed it. And I didn't think at the time, hang on, he's not a doctor. I've seen skeletons. Like, none of this is... But you just believe it when an adult tells you when you're a kid, innit? You just believe any old shit.
I know, man. It's such...
just seen
bullshit.
We've had a message from Kate Apostolov, who saw you at Top Secret yesterday. It was awesome. First time seeing you live. It was great.
Oh, really? I wonder what show she was at. Because the last one was quite slog a little bit. There was a big stag party in the front row upstairs. And they weren't being malicious, but they wouldn't shut up.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
There was a few of that in the last one I did actually as well last night. There's always, it is... there's a lot of people in central London. There's always going to be some dickheads. Here we go. Bonnie, let's do this question. How long we got? Let's chat for another quick 10 minutes and then we'll wrap up. What's the youngest age you'd be willing to nut a child if they hurt your daughter emotionally or physically? I suppose let's use or hit.
Nut, like headbutt, they mean.
Headbutt, they mean, yeah. Not like jizz on. To use an American phrase.
I mean... I don't know. What if they hurt your child?
Yeah.
It depends how.
It's a hard one, isn't it? Like, I don't think.
You can imagine, I don't know if they. Depends what. I'd. Depends what the severity.
Well, of course, yeah. It's massive. There's so many options. I suppose, like,
I mean,
what
those
age would you
12-year-old just got arrested for murder, didn't they, in England? They
really?
stabbed up someone. They were 12,
Fucking
and they
hell, man.
attacked someone and killed them with a knife, two of them.
Yeah. What's that? Do you remember them kids who killed Damilola Taylor?
Yeah, and the
They
other
were
one in
kids.
Liverpool yeah,
Yeah,
the
I would
young
say
kid
they're
in Liverpool
different.
that
They're
shook the
different
world up.
though. That was because like they
Yeah.
were little kids when they did
I mean,
it.
I'd have no problem, like, even if a 7-year-old had a knife about to stab my daughter, they'd get a high kick in the face,
Of
no
course, yeah, yeah,
props.
yeah. If it's that, but I suppose this question is more about, sort of, yeah.
I mean, if
What's
it was in the normal kind of like life stuff, I wouldn't headbutt a kid. You know what I mean?
no? You'd have I think you could physically restrain a kid of any age if they're about to hurt your child.
It'd be
You know what I
fucking
mean?
tempting if they hit my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Of course, but I don't. I think I would be able to stop myself. I would think I would physically restrain before doing anything like actually to hurt the kid. They're little kids, and
Yeah, yeah.
ultimately, what I mean, they don't know the severity of what they're doing. So, I think and then what I'd do is I'd restrain the kid and then nut their parent.
Yeah,
Just say,
exactly.
that's what happens
Do
anytime
to
you
their
hurt another
parents
kid.
what they did to your kid,
Well,
innit?
yeah, that's the way to teach them the lesson, isn't it? You know what I mean? Anytime you touch another kid, someone's
Just
going to
roll a
headbutt your
hand
mum.
grenade in their front
Someone's going to
door.
kick your mum in her head.
Just calmly stop putting petrol around their house. Flick your cigarette butt.
But there has been this one sparked a little bit of a debate. Somebody's dived in and said it drives me mad when parents absolutely don't give a fuck what's going on, and they obviously know their kid is an absolute arsehole because they live with them and they're being dicks with kids much smaller. I agree. I mean, like, I will say I spend a lot of time with Twyla in playgrounds, and some parents basically go to the playground with their kids, and there's a fine line here where like you don't want to just fully be like helicopter parenting, walking around behind your kid. You got to let them be a kid, right? But
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
people that just
yeah.
go to the playground, just send their kids off and go and sit on their phone on a bench at the other end.
And
Don't
their
even
kids
look up.
bullying everyone.
Exactly, and their kids are actually doing fucking mad shit, or like, sort of. I always find I end up playing with other kids at playgrounds because, like, if me and Twyla go just me and her, she wants me to play with her, and I'm swinging around on the roundabout and all that. I end up just pushing other kids on swings and pushing them on roundabouts because their parents are on their
Yeah, yeah,
phone on a
yeah.
bench. It's like, and I'm happy to do it because I want them kids to have a fun time at the playground. But it does make me a bit cynical about a lot of other parents sometimes and just their lack of engagement with their kids.
Yeah, definitely, man.
It's I don't although it sometimes is a bit of an ego. It's like it feels nice to sometimes be the fun dad at the playground. You know what I mean? That other kids are coming up and asking for if you can push them around in the roundabout and that. It's like, yeah, I'll do that because your fucking old man's a wanker.
I remember once we was on this bouncy castle thing at this what they call soft play things.
Yeah.
When it's got the ball pit, the big cage, climbing, all this stuff. This was years ago. I think Bo must have been like a little tiny kid. He's 19 now, and this kid come up to me, and he just walked up to me, and he just wiped his hand down my face,
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, he just went like that to me, and I was
How
like,
old was he?
What are you doing? Probably about 6, and
Right.
and I'm like thinking nothing of it. And Bo's mum's like laughing because of my reaction. I went, "What are you doing, mate?" It just caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And then later on, I realised that the kid was like autistic or something. But
Yeah.
he had his hand down the back of his trousers,
Oh, you got. Oh,
and I remember like, "Oh no!" He just walked like that's what he's been doing.
that's like stink. Isn't it called stink palming? That you stink palm
Yeah,
someone.
but he didn't know what he was doing. He definitely wasn't. He definitely was kind of
Heavily
I
on the
don't know what the word
spectrum.
is. Yeah, heavily sort of special or whatever.
Yeah. And that's, I mean,
But it was
again,
like,
though, that's
so I had
definitely
to go
like,
wash my face.
that's made it much more. I think it's easier now to not get super annoyed with other kids' behaviour when they are a bit too. You see some kids like in the old days. I think a kid who was running around being mad. I think older like parents in the old days, like, other parents would give a kid a fucking dig, man. Like,
Yeah.
without a second thought. And then obviously I'm glad that's changed. That's horrible. But I think now, because you're a bit
fucking
more
crazy.
aware, like when I see some parents with kids now, and their kids are just acting up to a level that I think we're aware enough now to be like, I think that sort of kid probably has some, sort of sensory thing. You know what I mean? That kid's just like, so you do wind your neck in a bit, I think, with the judgment nowadays.
You wait till no
which is
one's
nice.
around and then slap them, you know what I mean? From behind, so they don't know who did it.
Yeah. Somebody's Mads is talking. They're talking about ways of dealing with your own and other kids. Somebody says they've developed the mam stare, which is that there is. You do develop a sort of look. I've definitely because I never raise my voice to Twyla, but she knows if I give her there's looks that she knows when I'm serious when I say no to something. I think she can just tell by my demeanor that I'm actually not just playing around. So
she knows the beatings are coming.
Then everyone's now just talking about beating other kids. Every year at Father's Day, I'm just going to read all this and then let's do this as the last one. I don't know where this is going to go. Every year at Father's Day, without asking, the kids get me ironic food presents. Let's laugh at weird dad and the rubbish he used to eat. Every year I say no, I genuinely like the stuff, and they take the piss, so I've given up. But today looks like, this is the things he got for Father's Day: Cocoa Pops, jam butties, mixed nuts and raisins, Monster Munch, Viennetta, bars lemonade. That's a good list of snacks, isn't it? That's a really good list. I'd love a bowl of Cocoa
Monster
Pops,
Munch?
but I don't feel like I'm allowed them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't buy a box of Cocoa Pops, but I'm sure they'd be fucking delicious.
I like mixed nuts and raisins.
I do as well.
I buy that anyway.
Yeah. Monster Munch. Love a Monster Munch.
Some flame or the hot Monster Munch or some beef ones.
I think that's all good stuff. I wouldn't have any shame about that, mate. It doesn't matter if they're buying it for you ironically. If
enjoy it, mate.
It's all about how you enjoy it. If you enjoy it without it being ironic, that's fine. I'll always take an ironic present, even if it's, I've been bought a sort of ironic presents in the past, or presents that were sort of joke presents I thought were the best presents I got. I remember last Christmas, my mother-in-law bought me in a stocking present one of them little, it's a key ring that's the shape of a £1 coin that you can use for shopping trolleys. And I was like, that's the best present I've ever had. It's the most
I had to give my one
thing.
of them to Ren the other day, and I really use it, but because it's a football, she wanted it, and I'm like, yeah, go on then, I'll get another one. And then later that day, I'm at the Sainsbury's, I needed it. I'm like,
yeah, man.
But someone gave me this actually. I'm sure they forgot my birthday, or we were doing Christmas. I don't know, but I'm sure they just gave me something they had or bought for someone else or something. It's a back scratcher, one of these things.
They're great. They're quality, man.
Telescopic. I'll tell you what, I fucking use it all the time for years. And it was such a kind of, they just thought, oh shit, we had to get Julian something. Oh, give him that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's a great present.
I know. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
My itchy acne back. Not really.
For your steroid back knee that you've got. That's a thing, isn't it? You see some ripped up geezers in the gym, you can see all spots on their back. You're like, come on, lads.
Yeah, that's a telltale sign.
Fucking idiot. People that do steroids and aren't professional bodybuilders, man, are insane.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
And they're imagine all just out of proportion.
And they're taking the Trembolone, whatever, and they're just going work in a fucking car sales room. It's like, what are you doing?
Like looking bit, yeah. And another sign is their traps. Their trap muscles are big, but out of proportion to the other muscles.
Yeah.
Apparently, steroids go there a lot. Right. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, yeah.
Very silly, but we should wrap it up. What are you doing with the rest of your Father's Day?
Happy Father's Day.
Are you off out?
I'm going to go down to see the kids.
Nice.
I wanted to go to the golf range again, but it might be booked up, so I'll see. If not, I'll just go down and see them.
Yeah.
Try and do something nice.
But thanks for all the questions, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
I hope you're having a nice Father's Day, everyone. If you're a father, non-father, whatever your relationship with the word father is. I hope it's a nice day.
Our Lord and Father God.
Yeah. I got asked for a quote by a thing online about how it's a hard day for some people who've lost parents recently. So
Yeah.
if you are having a tough day, just
Keep
put the
it to
telly on,
yourself.
get a blanket over you, mate. Have a duvet day. Get through it.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll speak to you next week.